Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me and thank you for being here. To give you an update on where things are, um, as many of you know, last week I was at CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, the largest tech conference here in the United States. And one of my primary objectives at this conference was to understand where the industry is going, what things people are working on, and where we might find opportunities to partner with people and to work with people and different industries, and essentially bring use cases to our platform and our cloud. So there are a number of interesting, industries that I discovered that I think that there's, a lot of potential for us to work with. So, for example, the autonomous vehicle industry, I think, is a particular interesting industry that I think that there's value in what we've built in our decentralized cloud that we will be exploring. And we've made a number of contacts in that industry as a result of that conference. Collaborative virtual reality, although I think that collaborative virtual reality is a little bit in the future, that the industry itself is not yet ready. It does seem to be that there's a lot of interest in using a low latency network to facilitate those sorts of things across large geographic areas. So this is something that we've spoken with a number of people in that industry to understand the technical feasibility of something like that and what would be required. There's other areas of interest, for example, in smart cities and processing data that's collected in the city about parking, about pollution, and about other things locally where that data is collected. Again, we think that there's value in what we're doing with the decentralized cloud in the application to those particular things. So there's a number of opportunities that we're exploring and a number of industries that we're exploring following CES. In addition to that, while I've been at CES, the team has been hard at work, resolving some issues and some challenges with the network. Hopefully, you're seeing that the stability of the network is improved and is continuing to be improved as we identify, some issues. Those issues get fixed. So, for example, if you click on the block now, you can see some basic information that's being returned from the network about the block. So there's more coming, but you can see that we're in a phase where you're able to monitor the work that we're doing publicly, and that was really as one of the intentions of the alpha. The other intention, obviously, is for us to be able to develop use cases and to work with people to develop use cases. So that's kind of where we stand and what's happened since we've last spoken. I have received a few questions in advance of this week's call, in this week's AMA, so I'll address those first. So the first question is, what part of the current Sparkster decentralized cloud mainnet is operational? Everything is operational. So that would be masternodes, masternode voting, that's automatically making themselves masternodes and the management of that process. Compute nodes that execute the code, verification nodes that verify transactions, storage nodes that store information that in the process of a transaction. So that whole process today is live and is part of our alpha mainnet. The alpha is only one cell. The beta will be more than one cell. So that's what that's kind of where we are today. When will the Sparkster next question, when will the Sparkster mining app be for cells be available as described in the white paper? Well, right now we're focused on stability and we're focused on, looking for use cases, working on use cases. That part of that development will likely be in the latter half of this year, once we've reached, some sort of, essentially after the beta will come, the app, if you will. Are any of the nodes in GitHub deployable? When will they connect to mainnet? So what we've got on GitHub right now is the version of the nodes prior to the changes that we've been making since the launch that improve stability and improve, resolve some issues and so forth. So you can download those nodes from GitHub. You can spin them up. We haven't yet provided instructions on how to connect to our network, but it is possible to do that. Or you could spin up your own network with the nodes that are there on GitHub today. So yes. When will the Sparkster platform get released? And what does public release of full-scale support to build AI apps mean in reference to the roadmap? So at Mobile World Congress 2018, which is Europe's largest tech convention, last year we demonstrated artificial intelligence being built and used inside of our no-code platform. You can see that demo on our YouTube channel. If you look for the playlist called Mobile World Congress 2018, you can see the demo that uses facial recognition to open a door lock. That was built with no code. We have not done work on that since. Essentially, there's things that come at a cost. We introduced masternodes, which was not on the roadmap, and this is one of the things that we didn't get to further develop. But what we have got today is what you can see there, which is facial recognition using artificial intelligence, and the demo is on our YouTube channel. When will the Sparkster marketplace be launched? The marketplace will be launched with the platform, and the platform will be launched this quarter. What happened to the public release of our mobile app supporting sensory inputs? So we published this. I think we should clarify something. We published this roadmap in February of last year, right? And we've not updated it, I suppose, for the sake of transparency, but nonetheless, it's the roadmap from February. So this is one of the projects that we chose to drop, mobile app supporting sensory input, because we did not find sufficient value, meaning that we're not the only people that have produced a mobile app that allows you to interact with the sensors, or would have produced. And therefore, we decided not to pursue that particular project. It's easier for us to integrate somebody else's product than to go and reinvent the wheel. There isn't meaningful value add there, if you will. So that's one of the things that we dropped this year. Someone's asked, they couldn't find verification nodes module in GitHub. Is it not required anymore? README file says that this might be part of the compute node. Please clarify. Yes, we essentially combined the compute node and the verification node into one node because they perform similar activities. So what happens is that when you spin up a node, you choose whether that node is a compute node or a verification node. And depending on what type of node it is, it gets used in that capacity. And so what this allows us to do is to simplify the deployment process, reduce the size of the code base so it's more manageable, and to reuse a lot of the things that we've got that are shared between the compute node and the verification node. So essentially, the compute node has the functions, has the capability to act as a verification node, and vice versa. Can the use of the code deployer and executor be explained? Yeah, so what the Sparkster decentralized cloud is it's an environment for running code, right? It's an environment for building and running applications. So those applications consists of blocks of code, functions, if you will. It's an environment for running functions, and I'll touch on what a function is in a moment. So essentially, you can take your function and you can deploy your function, meaning that you can upload it, if you will, to the network using the code deployer, and then you can use or interact with that function using the executor. So it's kind of like a contract, right? When you first deploy a contract, you get back a contract address. Similarly, when you deploy a function, you get back, a reference which allows you to identify the location of that particular function, or an identifier for the function. And then when you want to interact with it, right, you want to, as we showed in the demo with the temperature, with the temperature thing, we called a particular ID that is a reference of that function, and we passed it input parameters. In that case, it was 100 Fahrenheit, which it converted to Celsius, right? So that's the job of the executor. So what is a function? A function is essentially a component which is the logic or the behavior of a component of software. And software generally is built up of small functions. And you find functions are everywhere. I mean, they're ubiquitous. To give you an extreme example, your washing machine has a function, and for example, the delicate wash function that describes or instructs to the hardware how to perform a delicate wash. And it's a function you interact with. You say, I want a delicate wash, and I want the spin speed to be 1600 RPM. So you would call a function called, internally what's happening inside of the washing machine is something analogous to calling a function called delicate wash and passing an input parameter, which is 1600 RPM for the spin speed of the drum, right? Similarly, we called a function called, I can't remember, something like convert to Celsius or Fahrenheit to Celsius, and we passed an input parameter of 100 Fahrenheit. So it gives you an idea that functions are, micro components of software, and how you build software is with components. And there's something analogous to functions, kind of, called methods, but nonetheless, it's the same sort of principle, where you've got these small components that are then composed into larger components that can call other smaller functions, and this is how you build software overall. So what we're showing you is an environment. What the Sparkster decentralized cloud does today is it's an environment for running and executing functions, whether they're composite functions which aggregate smaller functions, or they're the most basic functions in an application. And also we have the ability to interact with documents, and documents are essentially data storage, where you store data, where you retrieve data, where you filter data even. And so combining these two concepts together, you've got essentially the building blocks that you need to be able to define or build any type of software that you can conceive. And that's really what you're seeing in the Sparkster decentralized cloud today. So hopefully that's a good answer. So next question in the roadmap, it shows the goals below that were met, that were to be met by Q4 2018. Do I have any approximate timelines for when these things will be achievable? Are they being worked on? Are they essentially ready? So full-scale support to build AI-powered apps beyond computer vision. So the only thing that we're able to support today in the platform, not in the cloud, but in the platform, is computer vision. We haven't had the time to be able to extend beyond computer vision, right? The release of a mobile app, we've just spoken about this, for sensory inputs. The release of the platform for ARM devices. So we showed our work for ARM devices at the ARM TechCon, and there was an extensive demo, which is on our YouTube channel as well, showing what we're doing for ARM and kind of what the vision is there. So that's available to view on our YouTube channel. Release of the platform for Arduino NESP devices supporting codeless embedded application development. Yeah, again, that is the extension of the Arduino NESP environment is what we built for the ARM conference. So again, you can see the demo of that, right? Next question: where is Sparkster going to market or promote the project? So the marketing and promotion of the network, I should say, of our two products, the platform and the cloud, are really two different worlds, right? So if we talk about the cloud, essentially what we're looking for is industries, verticals, that we can add meaningful value to that particular vertical and participate in the development of that vertical. So as I mentioned earlier on, an example of that would be autonomous vehicles, right? Autonomous vehicles is a major emerging industry. We want to be part of, we want to make sure that what we're participating in and the value we're bringing is part of an emerging industry, simply because it allows us to grow as the industry grows, and to be able to become part of the fundamental infrastructure of that emerging industry, right? And that's critical. It's very difficult to penetrate an industry as the industry reaches maturity, right? But it's the opposite when an industry is in its nascent or emerging form, right? Which is really where autonomous vehicles is. There's a lot of opportunities for us to contribute value with the Sparkster decentralized cloud, for example, with vehicles communicating with infrastructure and infrastructure making decisions about how to reroute traffic and things like that. So this is essentially a major area of focus for us, for both myself and Shabir, right now, in fact. So that's where, for example, what we're looking at for the cloud is an area of focus. What we're looking at in terms of the platform is we're looking at simpler use cases. We're looking at how we can help entrepreneurs build applications, how we can help companies streamline processes, how we can enable individuals to be able to bring, for example, IoT use cases to reality. So those are particular verticals that we will be targeting those sorts of people in those sorts of, essentially where they hang out. And essentially a lot of that stuff is going to be social media advertising. I think there's a question coming later on about where specifically and how we're going to go about that. A lot of that's going to be social media, but some of it's going to be traditional. I mean, there's people that still read the Verge magazine, right? People read it online, but I don't consider that to be social media marketing, for example. So that's kind of what we're doing and what we're planning and what we're working on from a marketing perspective on the different categories. But everything that we're doing in terms of marketing is about user and customer acquisition. That is the core focus of all of our efforts when it comes to marketing. It is customer and user acquisition. Someone's asked, would feel to me as if we're advertising a car that no one can buy and doesn't drive if these 2 points aren't cleared before marketing starts. Would like Saj's thoughts on this. I'm not sure what this person's referring to or what 2 points this person's referring to either. Next question. It seems the no-code platform is ready based on the demo during multiple video demonstrations from April to July last year, including Bolinas AMA. I'd like to know how long it will take to integrate with the blockchain component in the cloud. I should say it shouldn't take too long. So the platform will be released this quarter. In terms of integrating with the cloud, once we've got, the two products are being built in parallel. So once we've got to a place where we're in the beta aspect of the cloud, the platform will be integrated with the cloud. And essentially the things that are built and running on the cloud will be, internally in the platform will be transferable to the cloud. So we're probably looking at the latter half of this year for us to see that. How long will the marketing process last? 1 or 2 months, 4 to 6 months, a year? The marketing process is indefinite. It goes on. Customer acquisition is something that we'll be doing for the foreseeable future. It's not time-bound or limited in some time frame, right? But it is important that before we go out there and invite, thousands or millions of people to start using our products, that they're in a condition that's stable and in a condition that's, we've essentially worked through the challenges. So there's challenges that show up at, anyone that's experienced with software development would understand. There's challenges that show up at every stage of a product's life cycle, right? There's the planning stages, there's problems there. There's the development phases and there's problems there. There's the bug test, there's essentially the testing and the process of going from development to something that's production ready, and there's its own challenges there. And then there's post-production processes after you've released the product that you discover challenges that didn't show up by virtue of the way it's been deployed or the way it's running or the way it was tested before, or the scale of the network or the amount of requests that are being received, or some latency challenges as we saw, essentially timing differences that we saw recently is one of the things that was in the recent article that we put out. So there are different challenges at different stages of the journey. We want to make sure that we've got a smooth experience before we invite large numbers of people to use the product. But as a community, you're welcome to, you guys are able to start using the product as it stands today. So yeah. Next question: how long will marketing process by Marlin last? 1 to 2 months, 3 to 4 months, or 6 months plus? And what is their marketing strategy? Will it be SMM focused, or will they be more focused on old school traditional marketing methods such as direct contact to companies, billboards, posters, strategic places in high potential cities, presentations at major tech conferences? What will be the marketing strategy focused on? So Marlin is working on, essentially is helping us with our social media strategy. A lot of our focus is social media because we are targeting individuals at the end of the day for the use of our platform. Individuals is a major component of what we're talking about. They'll also be assisting us with B2B marketing for companies. And specifically what they'll be assisting us with is things like thought leadership in writing articles and so forth for, that speak to decision makers and executives in a specific, in a specific domain, reading in places where we know that they're reading. So you may not consider that to be mass market, but it's, like I said, it's focused and targeted on efficient customer acquisition and speaking to the right types of people. You're beginning to see some of that right now. There was an article that was released at Hacker Noon, which is the beginnings of that happening. How long will we be working with Marlin? I don't have a reason for us not to be working with Marlin, for the foreseeable future. So long as results continue to be delivered, we'll be working with Marlin, right? So that's my perspective on that. I think we need a PR agency long term. It's not a short term endeavor. So they're very clear that our intentions are to have them be a long term partner of ours, and that's exactly what it is. How is the process of hiring someone going that will essentially write stuff up? I think that's the essence of this question. We have writers on board, so essentially those writers now will be assisting us with writing up the things that are important, responding to these particular questions. I think the best format to respond to the questions, because I'm sure that the person that's asking the questions is going to be watching the AMA. But we're focusing our writing efforts essentially when it's important, when there's some advisory or something that we need the community to know in aggregate. We'll certainly be publishing that in written form. Is Sparkster still in alpha mainnet? What is the plan for a fully functional mainnet? Yes, alpha is still in the Sparkster decentralized cloud is still alpha. We'll be in alpha probably for the next the next several months. We'll be in alpha while we reach stability, and we essentially work on extending the capabilities of the network, multiple cells and so forth, and then we'll transition over to beta. So the current status is, yes, we're still in alpha. Fully functional mainnet. Well, I would say that we're fully functional today, right? We're not partially functional. We're fully functional today. We'll begin. As we see successive releases, we'll see improvements in stability and information and so forth. But as far as I'm concerned, we're fully functional today. Are there any updates on hiring a designer to complete the redesign of the website and Explorer before marketing begins? Yes, we have a designer working on the redesign of the website. We're essentially waiting for them to come back with recommendations on particular designs and such. So that's in the pipeline. I'll take a few questions from the community. That's all the questions I received in advance of this week's AMA. I've answered every single question in the order it was given to me. There's some questions here about when unlock. Um, we still don't feel like the market's reached, um, satisfiable conditions. So we're not yet looking at unlocking. It's potentially February, but it's not, set in stone yet. We'd like this to be released in February. Metronome is asking, how do we plan to create clients for the decentralized cloud on a worldwide level? Do we plan to partner with large players? Do we plan to hire professional salespeople, and when? Both. So we plan to hire professional salespeople. Right now, I'm interviewing the team that will be working in Cambridge. Virtually everyone that I'm interviewing has a degree from either Oxford or Cambridge. I was just in an interview with someone right now, approximately 4 hours, who graduated from Oxford. He's been a software developer for 30 years or so. So that's my current focus, is to essentially build the Sparkster Labs team. But I will be recruiting for salespeople and so forth when I get back to London. I'm still in LA at the moment. I hope to travel to Orlando in a week or two, and then I'll be returning to London. So yes, we will be hiring salespeople, but we also will be working with large companies, participating in emerging industries. There are large companies that are, large automotive companies that are working in the autonomous vehicle space. So naturally, partnering with those sorts of companies is absolutely something we're pursuing actively. Why GitHub isn't active? GitHub is updated when we have a meaningful release to make, when what we're releasing we feel is sufficiently stable. Why do we delete blockchain code? We updated the project. We organized the project so that it's easier to run the nodes and essentially build them out. We didn't delete code. We added to what's there. Our efforts should be to deliver to investors, not only looking for customers at the end. We invested believing in me. Well, the promises we've always made is that we're building a product that people will use. We haven't promised anything other than we're building a product that people will use, and that we will do everything we possibly can to ensure that people use the products we built. And that's essentially what we're delivering on. So I'm not really sure what you're looking for, but if you can elaborate, I'll happily respond to it. Joe's asking about the bounty and the bounty continuing. So once we get to a place where the tokens are unlocked, the bounty will close. The bounty program will close immediately prior to the tokens being unlocked. Crypto enthusiast is asking, when unlock date, at least say not this year. It will be this year. It will be the early part of this year. At least that's what I expect at this point in time. So we'll see how that goes. Crypto's asking that some time ago we mentioned startup accelerators. Do you plan to follow up with that plan? It would be great to see new businesses start on top of the Sparks platform. Absolutely, we do. We're in touch with several startup accelerators in the Florida area. So yeah, absolutely. It is one of the areas of focus for us is startup accelerators. So yeah. Freedom Bird seems to think that we're partially functional today. Okay. Ollie says that isn't keeping tokens locked to impact the price, making it a security token. we're not we're not keeping tokens locked to impact the price. We're not trying to impact the price. We're looking for stability in market conditions. That's not the same thing. So no, I wouldn't agree with you. The main function of the token is to be a utility token. Price should not matter to the team. I agree with you, and it is to be a utility token. And if you want to know more about that, go to sparkster.me/FAQ to learn about to learn about the utility of the token. So Jared Palmer is asking, his question is about Sparkster's official advisor, Juan Albello, who is a senior vice president of SAP Corporation. Can he assist in partnering with SAP and collaborating on SAP correlation with Sparkster Labs? It would be great to fill Sparkster Labs with representatives of leading global companies. We can be the first to utilize these corporations until these corporations have joined the research lab for our competitors. Absolutely. So, Juan is someone I've known for many years. So absolutely. He's someone that we brought on board to do exactly that, to assist us with partnerships, not just inside of SAP, but across many large organizations. And once we're ready to utilize Juan's capabilities, I think that from my discussions with Juan, it seems that he would be very willing and happy to facilitate that sort of relationship with SAP. And I do think that there's some inevitability there to that, by virtue of the problem we're working on has a meaningful and substantial impact and benefit to SAP's sort of direction and objectives. So I think that that's just a matter of time, and it's again why he's part of our team. Freedom Bird's asking, are we going to provide more example functions? The only one that we've given is the one found by a community member. Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to in terms of the one that's been found by a community member, but you can write any JavaScript function and execute any JavaScript function today on our network. We will be providing instructions on, how to take advantage of the, for example, creating documents and so forth. But essentially, you can run any JavaScript function on the network today, not just the one we demonstrated in our demo. Okay. I think that's it. That's the majority of the questions I'm seeing. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next week. We are thinking about changing the frequency of these AMAs to once every 2 weeks, so more people watch them. I'd love your feedback on that. Let me know what you think and whether you think that's a good idea. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a lovely weekend.